Welcome to the Audible. On this week's episode, we're going to be covering APSU softball and football, as well as a preview of Titans versus Bengals. All of this and more up next on the Audible.
Hello everybody, I'm Blaine Keller.
And I'm Spencer DeFeese.
Austin Peay football announced their 21st head football coach on Tuesday, October 27th. 30-year-old Scotty Walden, former interim and co-offensive coordinator at Southern Miss University, will take over the reins as Governor's head coach as they begin their spring season. The move came as a surprise to some, considering that the current interim, Marcus Lovings, his tenure only lasted through 3 games this fall. Throughout their non-conference slate, Lovings led the Govs to an 0-3 record while being outscored 134-37. Spencer, were you surprised by this move?
Honestly, as you said, they only went 0-3 over this non-conference. As it is non-conference, they weren't really expected to win any of these. But I think getting somebody in there that might be a little more qualified to do this job is a right step for the Govs. It's going to be interesting to see, considering how they did last season. Interesting to see where they're gonna go, considering that they lost obviously their star quarterback in Javon Craig, and they also don't have the head football coach from last year.
Yeah, important to note that Mark Hudspeth, the former head coach who led the Govs to an 11-win campaign last year, resigned due to personal reasons in July, Lovings taking over for him for the 3 games this fall. It's really interesting because you talk about Javon Craig and now Jeremiah Oatsfall, who is an experienced quarterback in this system, but we'll see how experienced he is behind Walden, who really embraces a tempo-style offense, has been coined the next Cliff Kingsbury by some reports. Yeah. Will he be able to get that sort of style implemented in the span of 2.5 months when the season kicks off in February?
Right. Jeremiah Oatsfall, as far as I've seen, is not very great when he's moving around. He's really good, or at least better throwing while he's inside of the pocket. So it's going to be interesting to see how he plays in this system, like you said.
I think when you look at that and you look at the running backs as well, you've got Ahmad Tanner, who wasn't available in the fall, may be available in the spring. C.J. Evans and JUCO transfer Brian Snead, a 5-star running back at one point from Ohio State. When you look at those 3 backs, that doesn't speak tempo, air raid style offense, but at the same time, you look at D'Angelo Wilson, Jordan Pollard. Those guys really implemented a passing attack when playing those bigger schools like Cincinnati and Pitt this year.
Yeah. They also play like a similar style, at least to me, of like a San Francisco 49ers, like a yak style offense of passing the ball pretty short and then getting those yak yardage, especially with D'Angelo Wilson. He played very great last season as well as Pollard. So with that style of offense, like you said, those two should be able to shine. But it's yet to be seen whether or not the running backs will be able to do the same thing.
It's going to be really interesting. It'll be very intriguing to see what Walden will have to say on Monday in his introductory press conference. He's a younger guy, 30, like I mentioned, the youngest head coach in college football right now. Do you think that's going to benefit the Govs in seasons to come if he's looking to stay for a while, or even if he's looking to take the next level?
I guess it really depends on what his goals are. I think that he plans to do good things with the Govs, and he plans to stay here for a while, considering that he took the job in the first place. I think it really also depends on what he does here, like his success here, what he plans to do, whether he goes on to the next level or just stays in college.
Now, an interesting connection between Walden and the Govs. He's never been in Clarksville up until this point, but coached at East Texas Baptist, a D2, D3 school in Tyler, Texas, where Joshua Ergel, former offensive line coach for Austin Peay, was his mentor, essentially, in the coaching ranks and things like that. Ergel, now the tight ends coach at Kansas, how do you think that's going to benefit him whenever he's coming to Clarksville, sort of having a landscape in mind from one of his former mentors?
I think that it definitely will kind of prepare him, since he's never been here before. It's not really known whether he's even seen a APSU game before. Obviously, since he is going to be the coach here now, he's definitely gone through some games, and I think it's definitely going to prepare him for what is to come. Next up, we have news from APSU softball scrimmage held this week.
The Austin Peay ladies softball team is wrapping up their fall team workout with their annual Red and Black World Series, where they will split the Governor's team into two and play on the Kathy Maynard Park Cheryl Hold Field. This is the best out of three series played with the current roster under two team captains. Number 13, Emily Harkelrode, a redshirt sophomore who plays utility, leads the black team, while number 19, Lexi Ososki, a sophomore infielder, leads the red team. We look forward to ending our fall with the Red and Black World Series, said head coach Cassie Stanfield. This series was supposed to get underway on Friday the 23rd, but the weather had other plans and it was pushed back and played on the 26th. Let's get right into the action from Monday's game. The red team came out on top with a 4-run third inning, eventually defeating the black team 6-2 overall. The third inning started off with the black team leading 1-0 until Team Red came through with its first 4 hitters getting on base to blow the whole game wide open. Freshman Maddie Boykin was the first to reach on an infield error added on to by a wild pitch, allowing pinch runner Caitlin Smith to reach third base. Junior Katie Keene then reached on a fielder's choice and moved on to second when the black team tried to throw out the runner at third. Next up, freshman Kendon Weisefeld singled and Smith came home to tie up the game. This was all followed by a 2-run single from senior Kelsey Gray, giving the red team a 3-1 lead. The red team scored its final run of the game off of a double from senior Kelsey Gross, bringing in Gray to score. Freshman Shelby Harp cut the red team's lead down 4-2 at the top of the 4th inning as she tripled to center to score off a wild pitch. That would be as close as the black team could get, as they were outscored by the red team in the end, with Jordan Benefeld not giving up any more runs in the rest of the game. The game on Tuesday was the deciding factor on whether or not there was a Game 3, and the red team made sure this was not necessary this year. Benefeld and Gross made sure to limit the black team to just 2 hits in the game and only 4 total base runners. The offense for the red team averaged better, with 4 runs scoring off of the 7 total hits. The red team got on early with a walk for Weisefeld, who then stole second and moved on to third with a single by Gray, and then ended it all with a wild pitch allowing her to score. The black team got on the board with a run in the third, cutting the lead 2-1, though the black team would only have 1 more hit to try and even the score. The red team ended up winning 4-1, and they swept the black team, making the third game not necessary for the first time in 2 years. Now, here's my partner, Quinteris Wooden, with head coach Cassie Stanfield with a little update after the game.
Okay, so what do you feel each team did well today?
Okay, I think both teams kind of had different strengths and weaknesses personally. I think red team came out, they put the ball in play hard, they found a way to produce runs. I think their pitchers kept the black squad kind of at bay, and they handled the tempo of the game a little bit better. As far as the black squad, I do think they had, maybe not as best at bats today as they did yesterday, but we made some awesome defensive plays. They were behind their pitchers, working through the 7 innings. Just unfortunately, we couldn't find a way to get them to win to pull out Game 3.
Also, how do you feel like the players have adapted to the complications due to COVID?
I think they've done a great job. We always talk about just kind of riding the wave, hanging loose. So every day, is different. We have different protocols, but again, I think they've done a great job of just showing up, going with it, taking, each day just one day at a time.
My last question is, are there specific things that you saw today that need improvement?
Oh, that's a loaded question for a coach. I think we can work on all sides of the game. For our pitchers, we're really honing in on our pitch percentages, so pounding the zone. Hitters, quality at bats just in general, more so being aggressive, attacking, pitches that are plated. And then on the defense, it's just a little things, just trying to keep it clean, paying attention to details. So luckily we have a little bit more time to work on that before February.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
All right, and I'm Brianna Phillips, and that is all the time that we have today for your Govs softball update. Thank you.
Coach Stanfield's biggest concern last year came down to pitching, and by the scores of these 2 games, it seems as though she's had that figured out. Check back for more information on Stanfield's squad as the season progresses. You're watching the Audible on APSU-TV.
I was physically at school, but my mind wasn't at school. I had problems at home. That's when I met Narnese. She started helping me a little bit, like, Nia, I don't know what you're doing, but your future is more important. She's my strength. It takes a village to help somebody get their diploma. It changes your whole life.
Find free adult education classes near you at finishyourdiploma.org.
We scored?
Yeah, we scored going to the playoffs.
I can't believe I missed that.
Every time I'm buzzed, I spend too much time on my phone. What? I should take your phone away. No. I'll call for a ride. Hey, why does my face look like that?
I'm playing with these new face filters.
Okay, you know what? Yep, that's mine.
But I need that back.
No.
Kevin!
Welcome back to the Audible. Let's take a look back at the 116th MLB World Series. Snell, pretty early on in this game, only 73 pitches in for Blake Snell after him striking out, was it 9 batters?
Yeah, I mean, he was on fire, only 1 hit, and he admitted that was just on a bad slider. He was willing to accept that, but I mean, when you look at this matchup from, the first couple of games, I think it was game 3 or game 4, Snell and Gonsolin, the Dodgers go to a bullpen-style game, but it seems as though Kevin Cash's demise here with the Rays came down to analytics, which is funny because that's exactly what the Rays sort of harp on, and it's what they built their entire organization on was, we can have bullpen games because we have the analytics that say we can do it. We can put out our closer in the 6th or 7th inning. We can do all these different things, but at the end of the day, it was the analytics that bit them in the butt.
Yeah, as you said, they always harp on the analytics, but it came back to bite them here. And Blake Snell, you could just see the look on his face when he was taken out. He said a few, choice words, and it was just appalling to me watching the game and watching how he had just dismantled those amazing batters from the Dodgers that Kevin Cash would take him out so early on, maybe saving him for game 7 a little bit, or maybe just like you said, going into those analytics a little bit. And I thought it was crazy, but transitioning to I thought this was an important win for Clayton Kershaw, and obviously the whole Dodgers organization, but especially Clayton Kershaw, just to get that under his belt. after not having the best postseason success as a pitcher.
Right, you mentioned it. I mean, he's really struggled and has been infamously known for his struggles throughout the postseason, but really took it to town on the Rays. I mean, and any other opponent they were facing throughout this postseason. Do you think the bubble helped him out? Do you think that really aided in his success?
Well, I mean, as we've seen throughout, this bubble, as well as, the NBA bubble, we've seen players that don't necessarily show up normally in the playoffs. And we've seen, the likes of Donovan Mitchell and Jamal Murray, show out in a playoff series. I think that this definitely could have been part of why he did good. But I think part of it was a mindset that in his mind he was like, okay, I need to attack and I need to go out there and get it and show people that I do have what it takes to, play well in the postseason.
Yeah, you talk about some unsung heroes like Brett Phillips and his walk-off win. Yep. You talk about Clayton Kershaw, Randy Arozarena. I mean, absolutely demolished the baseball. Here's a stat for you. Arozarena had 10 home runs this postseason.
Yep, the only player ever to do that.
Right, and what's most interesting, they're playing in Globe Life Field in Arlington, Texas, home of the Rangers. The Rangers' home run leader throughout their abbreviated season, Joey Gallo with 10.
Yeah.
Arozarena in a limited, about half the amount of games, matched the amount that the Rangers' top home run hitter had throughout the entire season.
Right. Yeah, I agree. And another player that also played amazing throughout this series, also a rookie, is Corey Seager. He also just, played fantastic through this series, was really the most consistent, in my opinion, the most consistent Dodgers hitter throughout this series, batting .400 in the World Series with, 2 home runs and 5 RBIs. So it was a great series for him. Surprising to me that even with this stat line that he won the MVP. I think that easily Mookie Betts or Clayton Kershaw could have won it over him, but I definitely see what the voters had in mind when they chose him.
Yeah, I think there are a ton of different Dodgers you could have gone with this series MVP, but at the same time, if the Rays had won it, you have 3 or 4 different guys who could have won it at that point as well. But I think interestingly about this, you can't talk about this World Series win without Justin Turner.
Yeah. 3
plate appearances, pulled from the game because he had an inconclusive test.
Yep.
Later pulled because of a positive test, and then comes back out onto the field without a mask to celebrate with the team. What are your thoughts on that?
I think, and as we've seen in other sports so far, like college football, where we've seen Nick Saban take a test and him come back positive, and then just a couple days later, him getting 2 or 3 tests back that come back negative. I think that they should really be looking into what these tests actually mean for sports. Next on the show, we have Blaine McIntosh with some insight into Mets fall camp.
Hey guys, welcome back to another Mets minor league camp video. Today's video, we're going to be talking about what we do after camp individually and what we do on an off day. So let's get into it. So I'm going to start off talking about what we do generally in an off day. So we can't really go to many public places. So I have a PS4, I play games, I talk to my friends a lot. Some of the guys meet up down by the pool and they play cards, go swimming, things like that. Also, we make TikToks sometimes and that kind of keeps us sane, just having some fun, doing our thing. Next, I'm going to be talking about what happens after camp is all over. So basically, when camp is over, you go home and your nutrition, your strength training, everything is pretty much on you. Your schedule, your routine is on you until the next spring training, which is the end of February. So all that time from the end of November, December, January to pretty much all February, it's you're choice of what you do and what you don't. But the coaches usually have a good eye on who has been working out and staying with it and who hasn't. So that's pretty much what you have to do in the off season, is just maintain everything that you've been doing, stay on your routine, and that's all. Thank you guys for watching. My name is Blaine McIntosh. See you on the next video.
Thanks, Blaine, from Blaine. When we come back, we'll recap the Titans' heartbreaking loss on Sunday and preview the games to come. You're watching The Audible on APSU-TV.
Jason, let's go see your room.
What do you think? We kept it a little spare, so you can decorate it how you like.
Dinner. Go.
Excellent. Soccer is fun. Yeah, I saw you guys out there. We're the family. Yeah! Oh, I thought you were on my team.
Roll over. Chance high five. All right.
When you adopt a shelter pet, you discover all the things that make them unique.
And your mother and...
I am totally a hot person. Right, guys? Thanks for being honest. They're a little bit of a lot of things, but they're all pure love. Adopt pure love at theshelterpetproject.org.
Welcome back to the Audible. Blaine, what are your thoughts on the Titans' loss to the Pittsburgh Steelers on Sunday?
Well, you know, it was an interesting game, to say the least. When you look at the first half, for the Titans, almost nothing could go right for them. Down 24-7, but they scored 17 straight in the second half. Most interestingly, I think, about this, and I know I'm saying that word a lot, but Derrick Henry, sort of challenged by ESPN's Ryan Clark throughout this week, saying that he hasn't really been battled with guys like TJ Watt and Bud Dupree, star linebackers and guys in the secondary that match up to him in size. I think he fared well in the second half, at least. What do you think?
Yeah, I think that, like you said, he fared pretty well in the second half, and I totally disagree with Ryan Clark saying that he hasn't come up against players. I remember him specifically saying he hasn't stiff-armed a person his size when just 2 years ago he stiff-armed Miles Jack, 5 feet across the field when he went on that 99-yard scamper against the Jaguars. So I think that is, absolutely false. And I think that for the Titans to win this game and for the Titans just to win games ahead, he needs to get going in the first half because it just opens up their offense. Ryan Tannehill, one of the best play-action quarterbacks in the league, and I think that getting this running game going early definitely will help him out.
Now let me ask you this. We're talking about the second half performance, and obviously it came to a sour conclusion for the Titans. Stephen Gostkowski missing another field goal for Tennessee. Do you trust him going into next week with this get-right game almost with the Bengals?
Yeah, I do understand what people saying, maybe they should, cut Gostkowski and see if they can find anybody in free agency. First of all, I don't think that you're going to find much better than Gostkowski in free agency. He has been very inconsistent from 40 to 50 yards, which is where I think an NFL quarterback should be, or NFL kicker should be very consistent from. Interestingly enough, he's been more consistent from 50 plus. which is, pretty crazy. I do think that they should not do this, however, because I think that they could have done a lot better in the game to where it wouldn't even have came down to his leg. Obviously, this being an analogy with, free throw shooters in the NBA, people relying on them to hit their free throws when, a couple of good plays from their side could have easily put them in position to win the game, and that free throw wouldn't even have to happen, or the kick by Gostkowski.
And we mentioned the get right game with the Bengals. Not really much of a threat to be posed here, I would say, at least, knock on wood. You look at Joe Burrow, obviously a star, but his wide receivers have been inconsistent. AJ Green doesn't seem like he really wants to play there.
Yeah, he definitely doesn't seem like he's the same AJ Green.
The offensive line's a bit of a mess, and your biggest threat defensively, Carlos Dunlap, traded to the Seahawks just a couple days ago.
Yeah, it definitely doesn't seem like a very complete Bengals roster right now. Their offense is definitely the bright spot, though, with their, all-pro running back in Joe Mixon, and then they have rookie T. Higgins, along with A.J. Green and Tyler Boyd coming back. I think that Joe Burrow definitely has some weapons to do what he needs to do on the offensive side, but their problem this year has definitely been defense. Not really having much in the secondary apart from William Jackson at corner, and their linebackers and defensive line, other than, like you said, Carlos Dunlap, not really being up to par.
Now, you mentioned the receivers. You look at that receiver core, you've got T. Higgins, like you mentioned, A.J. Green, but John Ross III, near the bottom of the depth chart, a top pick for them a couple of years ago. Where do you project him to go? Do you think he'll get traded? What's best for John Ross right now?
Him calling for a trade in the middle of this season, honestly, seems kind of like a crybaby move to me. Him not getting the play that he wants to, being like a top pick, but as we've seen in his first couple of seasons, it doesn't seem like he's really putting in the effort to be that top receiver on the roster. But, I think that the Titans definitely have this game in the bag this coming week.
Definitely agree with you there. Let's move on to some free agent moves, some acquisitions and signings. Le'Veon Bell, cut by the Jets. Cut by the Jets a couple weeks ago. Definitely a huge help to my fantasy squad, getting added to the Kansas City Chiefs. What do you expect from him against New York this week?
Honestly, it's going to be interesting considering that they already have a Le'Veon-style back on the roster, and Clyde Edwards-Helaire being that receiving back. But I think they definitely should be able to do something there. And then AB to the Buccaneers should definitely increase their roster as far as the wide receiver position. Thank you for tuning in to this week's episode of The Audible on APSU-TV.